Okay, so today I'm going to talk about the power of apology in mediation. As a mediator, I've learned that in many cases, if I can get someone to apologize to the other side, either for something they did, or at least for the effect it had on the other side, all the other issues can become much easier to work out. So today, I'm going to share with you 3 reasons why apologies can be really helpful in mediation, and 1 reason why apologies might be very risky. So let's start with how apology can help. Number 1, often at the heart of many conflicts are hurt feelings. And an apology can go a long way to ameliorating those hurt feelings. By the time a conflict has made it to mediation, chances are lots of things have escalated. Someone is probably suing someone for damages and money, and the legal claims are framed in rights and law and positions, and they are typically then translated by lawyers and by courts into dollar amounts. But actually, underlying those dollar amounts are a whole bunch of interests, some of them substantive and some of them more emotional. But courts can't understand emotional interests, so they translate things into dollar amounts. The role of a really good mediator is to retranslate these claims, these legal claims, into underlying interests. And some of those underlying interests are really upset feelings: hurt, aggravation, confusion, betrayal. And so at the heart of the matter, often what one of the parties really wants isn't a bunch of money, but an apology. And when that apology is rendered, it doesn't always make all the other issues go away, but it takes away that vengeance. It takes away that sense of, you have not seen me, because suddenly the person has felt heard. So I want to share a story from a long time ago when I was a law clerk for a federal judge. And as this law clerk, I sometimes was able to sit in mediations. And there was a particular mediation I was sitting in where the amount in controversy was about $500,000. So substantial, but not huge by federal court standards. And at one point in the mediation, the judge who was mediating said to the plaintiff, "How much will this take to go away?" And the plaintiff said, "Well, I have to tell you, from my perspective, I was just treated unfairly. Like, this is not how business people treat each other. And so I just think the other side should own up to this." And the plaintiff's lawyer interrupted the plaintiff and said, "Well, the judge has asked you for a dollar amount." And then the plaintiff said, "Well, I want the full amount." As a law clerk who had been trained in mediation, I wanted to scream, right? Because what I just heard was, this was not primarily about $500,000. This was primarily about an apology. Now, unfortunately, the judge who was mediating, a kind and skillful person in general, completely missed this. He completely missed the underlying interest here, right? Which was an apology. He went back to the other side and said, "Well, I regret to say the plaintiff hasn't moved off the mark." And in the end, right, this case did not settle. What's really sad is my clerkship ended and this case was still in court. But what I heard, right, was apology. Now, a second reason why apologies can be incredibly helpful in mediation is that they can often help restore the relationship between the parties. Now, it is true that not everyone who goes to mediation wants a restored relationship. Some people don't even think it's possible. It is also the case that one of the advantages of mediation over other dispute resolution processes is the possibility of restoring the relationship. And sometimes parties go into a mediation not thinking they want a restoration of relationship, but actually along the way discovering that it's something that they would like or would be grateful for. And that's where apology can help a lot. So let me give you another example here. This is a mediation that I actually mediated. Again, the stakes here were not particularly high in terms of dollar amounts, but it was really over an unpaid bill. And both sides had dug in over this unpaid bill. And as the mediation unfolded, I could see that what had happened was the side that had not paid the bill actually knew they had to pay the bill, but along the way felt personally insulted and attacked by the plaintiff. And that made them dig in and basically say, I'm not paying, and here's the reasons why your service was terrible. And at some point, I was able to actually extract from the one of their bill paid, I was able to get that person to realize that they had been hurtful to the defendant. And they apologized for that behavior. And after the apology, the defendant said, well, I'd be delighted to pay the bill. And frankly, like, the service that you gave was excellent. I just felt personally insulted along the way. What's interesting about this is that these parties ended the mediation agreeing to continue to work with each other going forward. So I think what happened here, right, is the apology was a showing of unilateral vulnerability. And that unilateral vulnerability then was subject to a reciprocity norm. That is to say, most people, when they see good intentions, will actually reciprocate that. And that is exactly what the defendant did here. And in human beings, we know that reciprocity norms are extremely powerful. So what that means, right, is a fight meets a fight, but an apology, when heartfelt and sincere, often yields another apology. And while that doesn't immediately restore mutual trust, it's often the first step, and a decided one, toward the possibility of healing and reconciliation and restoration. A third advantage of apology mediation is that it can just de-escalate tension. So even if the apology doesn't restore the relationship, de-escalating tension in a mediation often then allows the parties to actually work on the substantive issues. Once the apology is made, it becomes really hard for the other side to keep on harping on the same topic without looking stupid. If I've admitted I made a mistake, and then you keep on reminding me of it over and over and over again, you start to show bad faith on your end. So an admission of culpability is much more likely to produce forgiveness. Now, if there's so many upsides to apology, why are people not doing it all the time? It is, I think, obvious why, but maybe not. First, right, it takes a lot of courage. But secondly, it's risky because an apology is an act of vulnerability. And having someone apologize when you know the other side has hauled you into court in some way feels particularly vulnerable. Because if that other side is vengeful or acting in bad faith, that apology can come back to bite us. So what advice do we have on that, right? Does that mean we shouldn't apologize? I think my advice is really pretty simple. We know that human beings have powerful reciprocity norms. We know that an apology that is given in good faith, that is sincere, is often met with some degree of grace. But sometimes it isn't. And so I actually think apology is not just a useful tool in mediation, because apology is also for yourself. To the degree you have done something or failed to do something that you know was hurtful or damaging, even if the other side doesn't accept the apology, you do right by yourself in issuing that apology. And so I think that part of the reason why apologies are really powerful is what we get as the apologizer. We get a sense that we've done right and a sense of relief. And that is really valuable, a win from whatever angle you look at. So, to review, apologies have some real advantages in mediation. First, they help parties get past the hurt feelings that are often at the heart of the conflict in the first place. Second, they can really help restore the relationship. Third, even when they don't help restore the relationship, they can help the parties de-escalate tension so that they can work on the substantive issues that are in conflict. But of course, apologies have a real risk, which is that the other side will take advantage of us. That means that we should issue apologies when they are heartfelt, when we know that we will get a degree of peace and satisfaction from them, and then we rely on grace and reciprocity to do the rest of the work. Keep watching this next video on mediation, which is what happens if you don't agree in mediation. And do me a great favor before you leave, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and ring the bell so you never miss new content. Okay, I'm not apologizing, keep watching.